Every single night, millions of adults over the age of 50 climb into bed carrying a silent burden inside their bodies. Sluggish digestion, hardened arteries, inflamed joints, a liver quietly choking on the residue of decades of processed food. They fall asleep believing the body will simply repair itself by morning. It will not without help. And what most people do not realize is that one of the most powerful overnight repair tools known to medicine has been sitting in their kitchen for years, costing less than a cup of coffee. Ignored because no pharmaceutical company can patent it. A single tablespoon of high-quality extra virgin olive oil taken at the right time in the right way before sleep can do more for cardiovascular health, liver function, and intestinal repair than most of the supplements lining the shelves of any pharmacy in America. And yet, in 15 years of clinical practice, the number of physicians who have ever mentioned this to a patient could be counted on one hand. Why? Because the system makes money when you stay sick, not when you get better. There is no billing code for a spoonful of oil. There is no insurance reimbursement for prevention that costs $2. This is Dr. Waterling, and if you are new to this channel, please subscribe right now and hit that like button. We are working toward 1,000 subscribers, and we are building this channel on one principle: real medical information given freely with no agenda except your health. Every subscriber moves us closer, and every subscriber is part of a community of people who refuse to accept that aging means suffering. Now, before going any further, a question must be asked, and it must be answered honestly. How old are you? Write it in the comments below. The reason this matters is that the protocol described in this video must be adjusted depending on age, and the more is known about who is watching, the better future videos can be tailored. So please take 3 seconds, type your age into the comments, and continue. Here is what nobody tells you about olive oil. The substance most people buy at the grocery store, labeled as olive oil or even light olive oil, is in many cases a refined, chemically processed product that has been stripped of nearly every compound that makes olive oil medicinal. A study published in the Journal of Agricultural and Food Chemistry analyzed dozens of supermarket olive oils sold in the United States and found that more than 60% of products labeled as extra virgin failed to meet the basic chemical standards required for that designation. 60%, which means most people who think they are consuming olive oil are actually consuming a degraded vegetable oil with a marketing label. This matters enormously because the entire therapeutic value of olive oil resides in 2 categories of compounds: monounsaturated fatty acids, primarily oleic acid, and a family of polyphenols including oleocanthal, oleuropein, and hydroxytyrosol. The fatty acids survive most processing. The polyphenols do not. Heat destroys them. Light degrades them, air oxidizes them, and the cheap industrial extraction methods used by most large producers strip them out almost entirely. What remains in the bottle is the calorie content of olive oil without the medicine. Now let me explain exactly what is happening inside the body when genuine extra virgin olive oil is consumed before sleep. The timing is not arbitrary. It is biologically specific. During the overnight fasting window, roughly 8 to 10 hours between dinner and breakfast, the body shifts into a state called autophagy, a cellular self-cleaning process where damaged proteins and worn-out organelles are broken down and recycled. The liver simultaneously enters its peak detoxification phase, processing accumulated toxins from the previous day. The intestinal lining begins active repair of microscopic damage caused by digestion, stress, and inflammatory foods. And the cardiovascular system experiences its lowest blood pressure window, the natural nighttime dip that allows the heart to rest. Into this delicate biological choreography, a single tablespoon of high-quality extra virgin olive oil delivers 3 specific actions that compound throughout the night. First, oleocanthal, the polyphenol responsible for the peppery sensation at the back of the throat when tasting good olive oil, acts as a natural inhibitor of the COX-1 and COX-2 enzymes. These are the same inflammatory enzymes targeted by ibuprofen and similar medications. Research published in the journal Nature demonstrated that a daily intake of approximately 50 milliliters of high polyphenol olive oil produces an anti-inflammatory effect comparable to roughly 10% of the standard adult dose of ibuprofen, without the stomach damage, kidney stress, or cardiovascular risks. Taken at night, this allows the body to spend its repair hours in a low inflammation state, the precise condition required for genuine healing. Second, the monounsaturated fatty acids stimulate the gallbladder to release a measured pulse of bile into the small intestine. This nightly bile release performs 2 critical functions. It helps the liver flush accumulated cholesterol and metabolic waste, and it lubricates the entire intestinal tract, softening stool and easing morning elimination. For the millions of adults over 50 who struggle with sluggish bowels, this single mechanism can transform digestive function within 7 to 10 days. Third, And this is the mechanism most physicians never mention. Oleuropein and hydroxytyrosol cross into the bloodstream and act directly on the endothelium, the thin inner lining of the blood vessels. These compounds increase the production of nitric oxide, which relaxes vessel walls and improves blood flow. Over weeks and months, this leads to measurable improvements in blood pressure, often a reduction of 5 to 10 millimeters of mercury in the systolic reading and a reduction in arterial stiffness that no medication can replicate without significant side effects. Now here is where it gets critical. The conventional medical approach to the conditions olive oil addresses, high blood pressure, elevated cholesterol, chronic constipation, joint inflammation, fatty liver, follows a predictable and profitable pattern. When a patient presents with mildly elevated blood pressure, the prescription is a calcium channel blocker or an ACE inhibitor. When cholesterol creeps above the threshold, a statin is added. When constipation becomes chronic, a laxative is recommended. When joints ache, an anti-inflammatory is suggested. When the liver enzymes rise on a blood test, the patient is told to lose weight and come back in 6 months. At no point does anyone ask the foundational question: what is missing from this person's daily intake that the body requires to maintain these functions naturally? The answer, in the overwhelming majority of cases, includes the very compounds found in genuine extra virgin olive oil. The Mediterranean populations who have been consuming 30 to 50 milliliters of high-quality olive oil daily for thousands of years do not suffer from these conditions at the rates seen in the United States. The pre-dimed study, one of the largest dietary intervention trials ever conducted, followed over 7,000 participants for nearly 5 years and demonstrated that a Mediterranean diet supplemented with extra virgin olive oil reduced cardiovascular events by 30% compared to a low-fat diet. 30%. That is a result no single medication has ever matched in primary prevention. And yet, the average physician will spend 12 minutes with a patient, write a prescription, and never once mention that a tablespoon of olive oil before bed might address the root cause of half the conditions on that patient's chart. There is no revenue in it. There is no continuing medical education sponsored by the olive oil industry. There is no pharmaceutical representative bringing lunch to the office to promote oleocanthal. So the information remains buried, even though the evidence has been published in the most prestigious journals in the world. Let me share the case of Margaret, a 63-year-old retired schoolteacher who came to see this office 2 years ago. She arrived with a printed list of her medications: a statin for cholesterol, an antihypertensive for borderline blood pressure, an over-the-counter laxative she took 3 times a week, and ibuprofen for chronic knee pain. Her primary complaint was exhaustion. She felt, in her own words, like her body was rusting from the inside. Her most recent blood work showed mildly elevated liver enzymes, which her physician had told her to monitor but not worry about. She had tried multiple supplements, expensive probiotic regimens, and even a colon cleanse advertised on social media. Nothing had changed her fundamental experience of feeling slow, heavy, and inflamed. The recommendation was simple: 1 tablespoon of genuine extra virgin olive oil, certified by a third-party laboratory for polyphenol content, taken 30 minutes before bed each night, with no other changes initially. The reason for changing nothing else was diagnostic. By isolating the single intervention, the effect could be observed clearly. Within 10 days, Margaret reported her first morning bowel movement in years occurring naturally, without the laxative. Within 3 weeks, her knee pain had decreased noticeably enough that she stopped taking ibuprofen on most days. Within 2 months, her blood pressure had dropped from 142/88 to 128/76. At her 3-month blood work, her liver enzymes had normalized for the first time in 5 years, and her LDL cholesterol had dropped by 22 points. Her physician, when she shared this with him, did not ask what she had done. He simply adjusted her statin dose downward and moved to the next patient. This is the pattern: real results, real measurements, real recovery, and a system that refuses to acknowledge the cause, because acknowledging it would require admitting that the original prescription was treating a symptom rather than addressing the deficiency. Before going further, please take a moment to subscribe to this channel if you have not already. The mission here is simple: get this information into the hands of people who need it before another year passes with conditions that could have been addressed with a spoonful of oil. Now, the practical section. Here is the complete clinically organized protocol for using olive oil before bed, including everything that matters and nothing that does not. First, the selection of the olive oil itself. This is the single most important factor in the entire protocol. A degraded, mislabeled supermarket oil will not produce the results described in this video. Look for the following specifications on the bottle. The label must read extra virgin olive oil, not pure olive oil, not light olive oil, not simply olive oil. The bottle must be dark glass or tin, never clear glass or plastic, because light degrades polyphenols rapidly. There must be a harvest date printed on the bottle, ideally within the last 12 to 18 months, because polyphenol content declines significantly after 2 years, even in optimal storage. The country of origin should be a single country, ideally Greece, Spain, Italy, Tunisia, or California, rather than a blend from multiple countries, because blended oils are often mixed from lower quality sources. If possible, choose an oil with a certification of polyphenol content, sometimes listed in milligrams per kilogram, with values above 250 being good and above 500 being excellent. Expect to pay between $15 and $30 for a 500 milliliter bottle of genuinely high-quality extra virgin olive oil. This sounds expensive, but at 1 tablespoon per night, that bottle will last approximately 1 month. That works out to between 50 cents and $1 per day, less than the cost of a single dose of most prescription medications and infinitely more beneficial. Second, the timing. The optimal window is 30 to 45 minutes before lying down to sleep. This allows the oil to enter the small intestine and trigger gallbladder release before the body shifts into horizontal position, where digestion slows. Do not consume the oil immediately after a heavy meal, because the digestive system will already be working at capacity and the benefits will be diluted. The ideal pattern is dinner finished by 7 in the evening, olive oil consumed at approximately 10 in the evening, and bed by 10:30 or 11. Third, the method of consumption. Place exactly 1 tablespoon, 15 milliliters, of the olive oil into a small glass or ceramic cup. Do not use plastic because oil interacts with plastic compounds. The oil can be consumed directly, sipped slowly over 30 seconds, allowing it to coat the back of the throat. Many people find the peppery sensation at the back of the throat, the signature of high oleocanthal content, slightly intense at first. This sensation is the medicine working. It is the direct contact of the anti-inflammatory compound with sensitive tissue. Within 2 weeks, most people come to associate this sensation with the feeling of taking care of themselves. For those who genuinely cannot tolerate the oil straight, a half teaspoon of fresh lemon juice can be added, or the oil can be consumed with 1 or 2 small unsalted olives. Do not mix the oil with bread, crackers, or any starchy food before bed, because this defeats the purpose of consuming it during the overnight fasting window. Fourth, what to drink afterward. Following the oil, sip slowly approximately 150 milliliters, about 2/3 of a cup, of warm water. Not hot, not cold, warm to the touch. This helps the oil disperse through the upper digestive tract and begin its work. Do not consume any food, juice, milk, or alcohol after this point. Fifth, the supporting nighttime conditions. The benefits of the olive oil are significantly enhanced when the body is allowed to rest in alignment with circadian biology. This means dimming household lights for at least 1 hour before bed, avoiding bright screens or wearing blue light blocking glasses if screens cannot be avoided, keeping the bedroom temperature between 65 and 68 degrees Fahrenheit, and sleeping in complete darkness. These conditions allow the body to enter the deep repair phases of sleep, where the olive oil's compounds do their most important work. Now here is the weekly progression of what to expect. In the first week, the most noticeable change is digestive. Most people experience easier, more complete morning bowel movements within the first 3 to 7 days. Some experience a transient increase in bowel activity during the first 2 or 3 days as the gallbladder begins to release accumulated bile. This is normal and resolves quickly. By the second week, sleep quality often improves. Many report falling asleep more easily and waking less frequently during the night. This is connected to the reduction in systemic inflammation and the stabilization of nighttime blood pressure. By weeks 3 and 4, joint stiffness, particularly morning stiffness in the hands, knees, and lower back, typically decreases noticeably. This is the cumulative effect of the oleocanthal-mediated reduction in inflammatory enzyme activity. Between weeks 6 and 12, the cardiovascular changes become measurable. Blood pressure readings typically show a reduction of 5 to 10 millimeters of mercury in the systolic measurement. LDL cholesterol generally decreases by 10 to 20% in individuals with previously elevated levels. Liver enzymes, if previously elevated due to metabolic dysfunction rather than disease, often normalize. By 3 to 6 months of consistent nightly use, the long-term benefits emerge. Skin quality improves visibly, becoming more supple and less prone to the dryness that characterizes aging tissue. Energy levels stabilize throughout the day. The chronic low-grade inflammation that drives so much of what is commonly accepted as inevitable aging begins to recede. Now, the necessary cautions, because this protocol is not appropriate for everyone, and honesty requires acknowledging the limits. If there is a known history of gallstones, do not begin this protocol without consulting a physician. The stimulation of bile release can, in rare cases, dislodge stones and cause acute pain or obstruction. The same caution applies to anyone who has had gallbladder surgery, because bile flow dynamics are altered in that situation, and the protocol may need modification. If currently taking blood-thinning medications such as warfarin, apixaban, or even daily aspirin, be aware that the polyphenols in olive oil have mild blood-thinning effects. This does not mean the protocol is forbidden, but the prescribing physician should be informed so that monitoring can be adjusted if necessary. Never discontinue prescribed blood thinners based on this video. If currently taking blood pressure medications, monitor blood pressure regularly during the first 3 months. As the olive oil begins to lower blood pressure naturally, prescribed dosages may need to be reduced by the physician. Do not reduce medications independently. Bring the blood pressure log to the next appointment and let the prescriber adjust the regimen. If experiencing any of the following symptoms, this protocol is not the appropriate first response and immediate medical evaluation is required. Severe upper right abdominal pain, particularly after fatty meals, yellowing of the skin or whites of the eyes, sudden unexplained weight loss, blood in the stool or black tarry stools, chest pain or pressure radiating to the arm or jaw, sudden shortness of breath. These symptoms indicate conditions requiring emergency or specialist care, not a kitchen-based intervention. This protocol is designed for adults experiencing the common metabolic, cardiovascular, and digestive changes associated with aging. It is not a treatment for diagnosed disease. It is a supportive practice that restores a nutritional input the body has been missing, allowing natural functions to return toward their proper state. Here is the final point, and it is the most important one. The pharmaceutical model of medicine works by adding chemicals to suppress symptoms. The nutritional model of medicine works by supplying the body with the inputs it requires to function as designed. For the past century, the first model has dominated, and the results are visible in every nursing home, every cardiology waiting room, every gastroenterology clinic in America. Chronic disease rates have risen, not fallen, despite the explosion of prescription drug use. The body was not designed to run on medications. It was designed to run on the compounds found in real, whole, traditional foods. Extra virgin olive oil is one of the most concentrated sources of those compounds available to modern humans, and it has been used continuously for over 6,000 years by populations that consistently live longer and healthier lives than those who abandoned it. The decision to take a tablespoon of genuine olive oil before bed each night is, in real terms, a decision to align the body with 6,000 years of accumulated wisdom rather than 50 years of pharmaceutical marketing. It costs less than $1 per day. It requires no prescription. It produces measurable results within weeks. And no physician will ever recommend it because the system is not built to recommend what it cannot bill for. If this video has been helpful, please share it with someone you care about, a parent, a spouse, a friend who is taking multiple medications for conditions that might respond to something as simple as a spoonful of oil before bed. The information shared here costs nothing to produce except time and the commitment to truth, and the only way it reaches the people who need it is if those who hear it pass it forward. Please subscribe to this channel, hit the like button, and write in the comments how old you are and whether you currently take olive oil regularly. That information shapes the topics covered in upcoming videos, and the goal is to address the specific concerns of the people actually watching, not the generic content that fills most health channels. The body is remarkable. Given the right inputs and the right conditions, it repairs itself with an intelligence that no laboratory has ever replicated. A tablespoon of real extra virgin olive oil before bed is one of the simplest, oldest, and most effective inputs available. The choice to begin tonight is entirely in the hands of the person watching. There is no expensive equipment to purchase, no specialist to consult, no prescription to fill. Just a small bottle of genuine oil, a spoon, and the willingness to give the body what it has been quietly asking for all along. Sleep well, heal deeply, and remember, the system makes money when you stay sick. It is up to you to get better.